Welcome again. Now we are discussing the success factor of enterprise governance of IT. The first success factor that need to be considered in order to achieve a successful enterprise governance of IT is the responsibility and the commitment of the board of directors. We need to have senior management commitment, and by securing this commitment, we can ensure sufficient resources, sufficient support to be granted in order to achieve or allow the IT to achieve the enterprise goals and objectives. Involvement of all stakeholders is essential for governance to be effective. What do we mean here by stakeholders is not only the board of directors but also different business partners, different departments. So in order to have a successful governance of IT, we need to have a sort of committee, for example, that include representatives from information technology, representatives from business departments, and these representatives which combined make a committee such as IT steering committee will review IT initiatives, and they will do a kind of prioritization for which initiatives that need to be treated as urgent and which initiatives that are not aligned with the business requirements. Accountability also need to be established for every function in the organization. And by having defined roles, responsibility, and accountability metrics, in this situation, we will promote the accountability and we will ensure that everyone has the right or have the required permissions and authority to conduct his or her activity. Also, IT strategy should be developed based on business strategy. So whenever we have a business objective, we should have the business strategy. And while we are developing as IT, the IT strategy, we need to review the business strategy first. And based on this business strategy, we shall develop our IT strategy. So in order to achieve a success governance of IT, as we mentioned, we need to have different committees, and this committee can help in identifying what are the initiatives that are related to business objective and need to be treated as urgent, and which one is less important and need to be removed because it does not align with the business strategy. So the first committee that we are going to discuss is the IT strategy committee. IT Strategy Committee, in terms of responsibility, provide insights and advice to the Board of Directors across a range of IT topics. They help Board of Directors to set the roadmap. IT Steering Committee is another committee, but this committee is responsible about oversight the IT function. They apply the roadmap. They monitor IT expenses, and so on. They approve the IT enterprise architecture, as long as this enterprise architecture align with the business requirements and will help the organization in achieving business requirements. We also have the project steering committee, and project steering committee will ensure that project is progressing according to the plan, and they monitor the cost and timetable per project. So these three committees together can help in achieving and gaining the overall goal, which is enterprise governance of IT. So IT strategy help in setting a roadmap. They are advising the board of directors. Steering committee monitor the utilization, resources, approve the products, and define what are the projects that could be related to business requirements and should be treated first, and they apply the roadmap set by the board of directors. Project steering committee, as mentioned, are responsible about execution of the projects. Regarding to the authority, IT strategy committee is responsible about advising, while IT steering committee assisting the executives in the delivery of IT strategy, and they are overseeing the management of IT service delivery. So the CIO is accountable in front of the IT steering committee. Regarding the membership of the IT strategy committee include board of directors, specialists, and non-board of directors member who can be asked to present their opinion about a specific solution or a specific issue. While in IT steering committee, we have sponsoring executives from business, we have the Chief Information Officer, and we can have key advisors as required. Regarding Project Steering Committee, we have senior representative who will be affected by this project, such as if we are talking about HR system, so the Chief HR Officer will be the senior representative in this situation. And project sponsor share, a project sponsor can share the project, and he will have the overall accountability and accountability about funding. So what do we mean by project sponsor? Is the one who requested this project, who will benefit the most from this project. So the relationship between committees, as mentioned, IT strategy advise board of director direct the steering committee and ask steering committee to apply the strategy or roadmap, and the project steering committee is reporting to the IT steering committee how far we are going or how far we are good in matter of executing certain project. To help you achieve the enterprise governance of IT, we have some frameworks that could be useful. One of these framework is the COBIT, and it is developed by ISACA, and it represents or stands for Control Objective of IT. And using COBIT framework, we can ensure that the IT is aligned with the business and remain delivering value. So this is the ultimate objective of a framework such as the COBIT. ITIL stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library. It developed by UK during the reign of Margaret Thatcher, and it is a framework for operational service management of IT. It is somehow equivalent to another ISO standard called ISO 27000. ISO 20000. ISO 27000, on the other hand, is a best practice for information security program, information security governance. It is recognized the standard for information security management system, while we have another standard called Open Information Security Management Maturity Model, or stand for ISM triple. And this model can also help us in the information security governance. And also we have ISO 38500, and it is concerned about governance of IT. And we have ISO 31000, which is purely about the enterprise risk management, and it can provide guidelines for enterprise risk management. So risk management is one of the operations and activities that need to be conducted with any kind of business. So having the risk management mindset, as we mentioned in the auditing, in the execution of auditing, will be benefit also in the governance of IT in the organization, to understand what are the obstacles, what are the key barriers that can hinder us from achieving our requirements. So ISO 27000, ISO 38500, ISO 31000, although all of these are not related to IT, but they are covering good options and provide a good way to achieving the value and delivering the value. Enterprise architecture is a practice which is focused on documenting organization assets and in a structured manner. So enterprise architecture goal is to help the organization to acquire the effective technology that is compatible with the IT framework. Remember, IT steering committee approves the enterprise architecture because they will remove any item or any technology that is not relevant to business requirements. But in enterprise architecture, we can view it from two perspectives. The first perspective is technology-driven, and second perspective is business-driven enterprise architecture. And we have many frameworks available that can help you in identifying and establishing your enterprise architecture. And this framework could be something such as Zachman framework or TOGAF. So information security governance is a significant problem, and governance issue in information security could lead to fines, could lead to compliance and regulation issues, and so on. So information security also need to be governed. So we should have a kind of committee that is concerned about the information security governance. And having a mature information security function will help your organization to take advantage of IT opportunities while mitigating the risk. In information security or in cybersecurity world or in digital transformation, you are dealing with unknown. So by having adequate governance, by having a proper risk management framework, by having information security governance in place, you can conquer this unknown. You can take benefit from different opportunities that could be a problem unless you are well prepared for it. So information security governance will help you in taking advantage of different opportunities while mitigating its risk. Information security governance addresses the concerns related to safeguarding of information assets. We deal with confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We assess what are the kind of risks that could be related to these three parts. And in information security governance, we try to deal with this to minimize its impact. Accountability and responsibility for InfoSec governance rely with the board of directors. So any accountability could be related to governance function would rely or would be in the accountability of the board of directors. Why board of directors is ultimate accountable? Because they are the people who are responsible to provide the funding, provide the management support. So if I lack or if I don't have a proper InfoSec governance, this could be related to the lack of management sponsorship. And we are talking here about the board of directors specifically. Information Security Governance Committee need to be in place. As the IT Steering Committee, we need to have the Information Security Governance Committee as well. So information security strategy as well as the IT strategy should be aligned with business objective. This is the most critical part here and most critical concept that we need to understand. And we need to develop a security program based on this security strategy, which will come from the business strategy. Program should ensure and consider the strategy of the business and the strategy of information security. And in program, we define the leadership, responsibility, structure, and processes that can help us to achieve the program requirements. In security policy, we develop security policy based on the strategy, and we can, after developing the security policy, we shall develop the standard that can help us meet the intent of the policy. And I believe in the domain one, we described what do we mean by policy, standard, and procedures. Information security policy should consider the CISA statement, data classification, end user computing, access control. So in terms of information security, we have a lot of topics to cover: data retention, acceptable use policy, remote access policy, work from home guidelines, all of this. And enterprise security architecture should be formulated after developing a security policy. So to make it clear to you, we have the business requirements. Based on business requirements, we develop our business strategy. Based on the business strategy, we can develop our IT security strategy or information security strategy. And based on this information security strategy, we should develop our information security policy. And from information security policy, we shall formulate our enterprise security architecture. Before developing the IT information security strategy, we should do a kind of risk assessment, because we should identify what are the barriers that could hinder our progress in achieving the information security strategy requirements. So in governance, we have multiple tools, and I believe we discussed it before in domain number 1. Policy is one of the key requirements to achieve a good governance. Standards help us to achieve the policy requirements. Procedures can help us to meet the standard, and both of or the policy standard and procedures, all of them are mandatory as described later or described earlier, while guidelines can be used in the absence of the clear standard. Policy should be used by the IS auditor as a reference, and whenever an IS auditor starts to do an audit, he will ask first for the available standards, policies, procedures to ensure that we have confirmation with these policies or not. Having a policy that is not communicated to your end user or is not communicated with the target audience is a problem. So information security auditor or information system auditor need to make sure that policies are communicated to its audience. In developing or applying policies, we have two approaches. The first approach is called the top-down approach. In top-down approach, we will consider our enterprise requirements, and this can lead to more consistency. But it is time consuming because developing the policy based on business requirements and then enforcing it across multinational organization could lead to time issues, and it can miss some of the business unit requirements. But it will lead to more consistency and will consider the enterprise requirements. But at the other hand, we could have some issues that we can manage. Another approach to develop and enforce the policies is the bottom-up approach. In bottom-up approach, we consider the business unit requirements, but we could have some inconsistency across multinational organization because each organization or each business unit will have its own security policy, for example. So this could miss some of the strategic objective. So what is the best way to develop and enforce policies? It could be developing a draft or a baseline policy that includes the basic requirements that will apply on all business units across the organization. And then we can allow business units to amend in this policy to add their own requirements whenever required. But we need to make sure that the policy or the baseline policies that we provided to these business units does not contradict with the internal requirements of each business unit. That's it for this video. See you in the next video, and I hope the content is clear up to now. So, see you in the next video.